Matt Lauer is out at the Today Show. Apparently, he quit to pursue his dreams to become a dancer. I'm just kidding, it's 2017, which means he was fired due to sexual misconduct claims. Here's how it went down. Everyone showed up at work and received a note from the head of the news organization who said that Matt Lauer is out, and it was because he got a sexual misconduct complaint. It was his first in 20 years, but they said they still had evidence to kind of paint the picture that this was not the only time something like this had happened, so they fired him. And then if you turned on the Today Show that morning, you would see this message. Take a look.
We just learned this moments ago, just this morning. As I'm sure you can imagine, we are devastated and we are still processing all of this. And I will tell you right now, we do not know more than what I just shared with you. But we will be covering this story as reporters, as journalists. I'm sure we will be learning more details in the hours and days to come. And we promise we will share that with you.
A lot to sift through, but when you first heard Matt Lauer's out at the Today Show, what's your response? Oh my God, Jason, go.
4 a.m. CNN, Matt Lauer fired from the Today Show. Never in a million years would I thought that would be the headline I would wake up to. Matt Lauer, my family has only watched the Today Show. Growing up, that's what you watched. September 11 happened, I got my news straight from Matt Lauer and Katie Couric. So my jaw was just on the ground, and as more things developed, as more things came out in regards to the story, my jaw stayed on the ground because Matt Lauer is someone that we've been inviting into our homes for almost 30 years now. And you think of, okay, so, and then as the thought process goes, you think, well, was Matt Lauer sitting there looking at Billy Bush thinking like, I escaped unscathed because Matt Lauer knew this was going on? And then when you hear all the details about what he did, I couldn't believe it. And not to say that he wasn't someone who would do this, but I looked up to Matt Lauer as a journalist, as someone who you cultivate these relationships with these on-camera personalities and these anchors over time. They become part of your family. Now it sounds kind of weird to say, but they do. You watch Oprah every day. Yeah. Oprah's your auntie. Oprah's your girlfriend. Matt Lauer was like a brother because I love the Today Show. So I just couldn't believe it. I was appalled.
Yeah, I think the unfortunate truth right now is that the more powerful the man, the more probable that these sort of allegations are going to come out. And I think we need to sort of, make amends with that, right? And I do think that there's a pretty good, I think that we cannot be surprised by these anymore. And I think what you said is really, really interesting, where you're kind of going into is he sitting back and thinking, oh, I've gotten away unscathed. I think for a lot of these people who have committed these sort of, whether it be more like casual sexual harassment or blatant sexual misconduct or sexual abuse. I mean, there's some women who are saying that he forced them to do sex acts on him. There are women who are saying that he pulled out his penis in front of them. I mean, just disgusting and horrifying things. But I think for a lot of these people, I don't think they're self-aware. I don't think they're self-aware enough when he's commenting on Weinstein to know that they have also committed these sorts of acts. I really do think that they are blinded by the power that they hold and don't necessarily think about that. I don't think they have the self-reflection.
So you said the more powerful the person, the more likely that this will come out. I just look at Barack Obama, who was the most powerful person in the world who was able to walk the line. Just walk the fucking line.
Yeah, I do think, my point is more this is not about sex, and I think it gets really misconstrued when we talk about it in the media. It is not about sex, right? We say sexual misconduct, whatever. It is a power dynamic, and it's about overusing and abusing that power. And oftentimes that comes out in sex in cases like rape and sexual abuse and sexual harassment and things like that. And so when you have more power, that power dynamic widens, and so it makes these things more likely to happen.
A couple more details about this. The woman who made the claim that precipitated all this action was a producer that worked with, or someone on staff who worked with Lauer at the Olympics. And when she came forward, she's like, I don't want money, I don't want anything. I just want this to be out there and get it known so that we can remedy this kind of situation. But other things that he had done, and he had bought someone, according to a New York Times report or a Variety report, he had bought someone a sex toy, and for Christmas, and in the little note said, I hope to use this on you at some point. And the thing that gets me the most, the most strange visceral detail of this, is that he had a button on his desk that, according to one account in the New York Times, was if he pushed the button, he could lock the door. And if you were inside the office, the door was locked on you and there was nothing you could do.
According to New York Times, many offices at 30 Rock had that feature.
Ugh.
Okay.
Gross. I think another really important sort of detail of this story is after this one woman came forward with her complaint, I think they said it was on Tuesday night or Monday night that they received the complaint. There have been many more women that have felt comfortable in coming forward. So I do think that is really, really important. And while they said that this was the first complaint that they've received,
like official HR, I didn't write it down claim.
I think for a lot of people would hear that and be like, oh, that's like so astounding. But think about who Matt Lauer is and think about like what he meant to you, right? You see this person who is so powerful, who's making like $27 million a year, who's in everybody's home, everybody knows his name, and you're like a producer, right? So of course you're not gonna come forward with a complaint because you feel like if you do, your career will be over, and also maybe somebody won't believe you, and maybe nothing will happen. And I think that's the scariest, and why so many women probably didn't come forward in the 20 years. But like, I totally commend the courage and bravery of that one woman who did, and now that she paved that path, the other women can now come forward.
And something they bring up in the Variety report as well is a number of people that work on the Today Show just saying how protected Matt Lauer was and just how beyond reproach he really was. Which does sort of corroborate what we're hearing from this woman, and then also that this was the first person to make an official HR complaint, because a lot of people that work on the show are just saying he is the Today Show. Like, it begins and ends with him. A lot of people were bringing up on Twitter as well the firing of Ann Curry and how we knew that was somehow related to her dynamic with Matt Lauer.
Natalie Morales didn't get the anchor position a few years ago because there was they had some sort of sexual relationship at some point. Like there was some weird thing that happened there too.
We should talk about his response. So Matt Lauer has issued an apology.
And here, let's go through it chunk by chunk, because these things, this is
so
just
verbose.
Such a strange part of it from my perspective. Just the obligatory apology comment you have to make, and there's really 3 words you need to say, I'm so sorry. And that's what people always kind of skirt around and get to in a weird way, such as, there are no words to express my sorrow and regret for the pain I have caused others by words and actions. However, there are no words, but I still am writing this apology using words. To the people I have hurt, I am truly sorry. At least he says, I am truly sorry. There is no if. There's no if I hurt your feelings, I am sorry. There is, to the people I have hurt them, I am sorry. As I am writing this, I realize the depth of the damage and disappointment I have left behind at home and at NBC. Some of what is being said about me is untrue or mischaracterized. But there is enough truth in these stories to make me feel embarrassed and ashamed. Let's comment on that. Thoughts?
No, that's the same thing where it's like I'm sorry, but also that kind of thing. No, just say I'm sorry, period. It is so disgusting to be have any truth to this and not just own up to it. And then if there's things that come out as untrue and you have to deal with that in court, whatever, deal with that privately, but publicly make your statement, apologize. There should be no disclaimers within that.
It is weird, but what if this happened, you did something terrible, but the worst thing out there is wrong? The worst thing that's in the public discourse is wrong. I'm not saying that's the case here. They might all be right.
He's a journalist. So journalists are wordsmiths. They're taught to see. Most are taught to see 2 sides to every story and to report the facts, right? So Matt Lauer is saying that. I think out of all the apologies I've heard from all these people that have done these things, that's probably the most acceptable to me, honestly.
There was
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that there was somebody in my Twitterverse who was people were making claims about them committing sexual assault and sexual harassment, and the way that they apologized, I thought was one of the best that I have seen, saying that the core of what is being said is true, and for that I'm so sorry, because that leaves a little bit of space, and it's not some of these women are liars.
It's still an equivocation.
Right.
And a little bit, but it's better.
Absolutely the same thing.
I don't think so.
It's all how you say things.
I think Matt.
As opposed to saying the thing that's not.
What Matt is saying is he's putting onus on some of the women who have come forward, and he's basically saying some of these bitches are liars, but I did do some of this stuff, and that's not cool.
And then to say, but there is enough truth in these stories, not to urge me to have to apologize, there's enough truth in the stories where it is very clear that I have failed miserably. Instead, he's like, there's enough truth to make me feel embarrassed and ashamed. Oh, so it is about like your feeling.
NBC. Also, why are you just feeling embarrassed and ashamed now? Because you got caught.
Right. NBC should also feel, great point, Hannah. NBC should also feel embarrassed and ashamed because, for one, let's note how on point and how boss these publications like the Washington Post, the LA Times, they're doing their own investigations, because even though that was the first complaint that came forward to NBC, they had been investigating Matt Lauer apparently for a while. Now it was just like, boom, now we got you. And NBC was complicit because they had known that this was going on, but because the Today Show, by all accounts, is a ratings juggernaut and an ad sales cash cow. Why? Again, we've talked about this here, you guys. What is the bottom line? Money. Why tip the boat if it's gonna with our money?
However, this is before. Usually it goes, all right, there's rumors, and then they lose sponsors, and then they cancel the show. This was, good morning, Matt Lauer's perv and fired.
But here's the thing, if this happened 6 months ago, that would have been the normal trajectory of how it would have gone. But we are in an era right now, thank freaking God, because of this Weinstein effect, where it is no longer profitable to keep somebody who has been accused of these things.
Talk about pervert. God impregnated a woman who didn't even know it. He had to send an angel later to tell her she was pregnant.
But I do think it's.
I think also just to remember when it comes to like his like equivocations and justification in the apology. For me, when I read this stuff, I'm like, okay, is anything in there that he did? Is it a fireable offense? Think of like the things you'll read in the Variety report of like sending a coworker a sex toy and
pulling your dick out. Yes.
Right, but that's what I'm saying is like, if you were to do those things at your job, you guys watching, would you be fired? Yes, you would be fired. I would hope so. Matt Lauer should be fired as well. I think that's what it comes down to.
It's interesting too, like from a financial perspective, depending on how his contract is worded, there are a lot of contracts with morals clauses in them. They're like, if you do something morally reprehensible, and then they define it with specific terms, but then we can fire you and not have to pay you the rest of your contract. But if you're Matt Lauer, it's possible that that's not in there, and if you ever fire him before his contract's up, you have to pay him the balance, which is $500,000 a week.
Right.
Because I bet I just hate the idea that he thought for so many years that he was above this and that he was above and beyond reproach, and he was given all these tools, you know, like the lock underneath his desk and all this,
and then as Jason,
for him to get away with this stuff.
Jason implies that might not be necessarily for that,
or maybe there's a pattern of it within NBC. Maybe this is not as isolated as we like to think. But I just want to get into like in all of these allegations and in all of these stories that we keep hearing, there's this one thing that keeps popping up, no pun intended, is all of these dudes pulling out their junk, like at work. Like it is so bizarre to me that is like one common theme in all of these.
Right, my whole life I've been trying to get people not to see me whip it out.
The statement from the powers that be at NBC was also kind of weird when they said, to our knowledge recently, or something to the effect of Lack. He had said that presently we are taking these allegations. It was, I wish I had it on my phone, because it was like, okay, they're saying that we're now holding him accountable for things presently because we can't go back in and hold him accountable for things that happened, whatever. But it was like, doesn't matter how long ago it happened. And also there was
this is the first one, and that we have enough information to believe that there could be a pattern of it.
And what the most heinous to me offense that Matt Lauer was accused of was actually having intercourse with a woman, bending her over his desk and forcing her to have sex with him. That was like, wow, that's what did my head in. Geraldo Rivera.
We have to wrap up. So
you know what? It's fine. Just go, if you can, go look at Geraldo Rivera's tweets and his defense of Matt Lauer, and then when he walked back what he said about Matt Lauer, because Geraldo Rivera was also accused by Bette Midler of sexual assault too. It's just it's a crap show all around. But I know one person who's probably sitting back having a mimosa right now thinking karma's a bitch, and that's Ann Curry. And all the tweets that came out for that were like, bravo. And she hasn't really given a scathing, shady retort to this, but come on. You know,
no, she's like, I'm glad we're looking into this as a whole, as a society.
Such a classy woman. Behind closed doors, she's like,
the Today Show, what can you say? You know, everyone's swinging toward Good Morning America. And will they hire Michael Strahan away from ABC to replace Matt Lauer? More news to come. Let us know in the comment section how you feel about this, and we'll see you next time on Pop Trigger.